Welcome back, my friends. Thank you for joining me. As usual, let's jump into a bit of basic standing posture. Take some time to let go of your body, softening your face and your neck. You remember that the direction of decompression for your head and neck is that way. As all of this releases, it's as though the top of your head floats up because everything pulling it down is let go. And at the same time, especially for today, as you release the tops of the shoulders, attaching all the way up here, the base of the skull, around your ear, all of this tension falls open. Soften all the way around the shoulder, but for today, especially noticing this clenching toward the tops of the shoulders. Elbows sinking, wrists releasing. Letting go of your chest and your upper back, your belly and your lower back. As best you can, softening through your hips, all the way down through to your toes. Continuing to let go. Closing whenever you're ready. Soft and relaxed, your awareness settling in the center. allowing your mind to grow quiet, to consolidate. Take your time. Feels good. So for those of you who are brand new here that stumbled upon us, welcome. You might want to look down below for links that will lead you back not just to the beginning of this 100-day series, but also to the beginning of the Snake and Turtle teaching series, of which this 100-day series is just a part. So please do start at the beginning so you know the how and the why of what we're doing as we slowly build skills, developing and transforming the body-mind in a different direction than simply doing movements. And today we're emphasizing the part of the shoulder, the 6 corners, the 6 sections of the shoulder movement that tends to be the easiest for people to understand. So when I talk about the shoulder, usually people are thinking of this joint here, this folding, this glenohumeral joint. This is the humerus, my funny bone. And it sits like a golf ball into a tee, tiny little holding location in the scapula, rolling around in there. And the shoulder moves in all different directions, of course. It extends, it flexes, it abducts, it adducts. We have internal rotation, we have external rotation, all of these different directions. It's quite amazing what we can do with this joint. And the only place that it physically attaches to the skeleton is right up in here. So all of this shoulder complex rolls around, sliding around over the ribs when things are moving well, which of course is what we're working on, setting everything free, and as well, not just creating movement and flexibility, but also integrating that movement in through the rest of the body, which of course is part of what we're creating with Qigong. Not just movement for the sake of movement, but something more holistic, something better. And so as we move, it's not just this joint wiggling around that we're trying to do, but we're also learning how that movement integrates. And the shoulder itself needs to be released in these 6 different realms of movement. And this one, the center point, we can call it here, is a really common place to start thinking about it. But we already have a sense of what that means. When the joint is not moving well, if it's locked or blocked, something's torn perhaps, something's caught, then it doesn't move, and we all know that. But as well, the rest of the attachments for the shoulder, for this to function smoothly, need to be engaged in the proper way and released adequately for that movement to happen. And so we want to look at it and understand all of those, so that when I talk about it, we know what we're saying. And so if we talk about the top connection of the shoulder, it's this space up here. If this is frozen, my shoulder doesn't work very well. And this is very commonly frozen for people. But it's also the easiest to learn to let go. And so if you watched my video about how to relax, what it means to let go, of course, then you already know this example of we don't pull the shoulder down. That doesn't help. Now it's just twice as tight. Otherwise, this would stay up. And technically, even though I'm pulling it down, it's still up. It's just a little more down than up. And so what I want to do instead is to learn to let go of this tension here. We let it fall. And what's the direction of that falling? It's not forward. The shoulder blade is released as best we can down the back. And we'll talk about the shoulder blade and such in other spaces. But this letting go, there's some pretty big muscle attachments back up in here. There's the traps, the trapezius muscle, the levator scapula back here, and all of this when they grip, everything attaching all the way up and through here, it pulls this down, it pulls this up, tightens the jaw. And so letting this go not only feels amazing, but suddenly allows for an entire new quality and direction of movement that was frozen before. And so as we go through today, I'll continually pull your awareness back to the top corner. Maybe we can say the tops of the shoulders. And as usual, just following through the movements, continually letting go of this line here. Ask questions down below if you need more clarification about that. Awareness settling in the navel. Gentle circles. Cultivating a soft, comfortable abdomen. If you're able to, your mind soaking into the body. And of course, continually releasing the tops of the shoulders. Both directions. Releasing the sides of the neck. If you'd like, again, you can include movements of the eyes. And then a little bit of left and right, yin and yang balancing. This is perhaps the very best practice of all, if you're able to let go, for this falling open. Your arm grows long because this softens so deeply. Remember, you're not trying to push your hands down, you're letting go, all the way through your legs as well. Most likely the next 100-day series will be emphasizing the hips, the legs, the feet. It's harder to begin to access the torso and opening the pivots there if the limbs are not released. So even here, make sure that you don't lift your shoulders. Doesn't help. If this is too difficult for your wrists and shoulders to reach without tensing the tops of your shoulders, and use the backs of your hands, that might be easier. Top of the shoulder does not lift. In fact, the shoulder sinks down as your hand comes up. Shoulder sinks down in a different direction as it descends. Softening up the pelvis a bit, the lower back, the belly. For most of these, I'm doing 9 in both directions. Again, always feel free to add more if you need a little extra attention in any space. We all need a little extra attention in some space or another. As your neck opens to the side, emphasize letting that length from the base of the ear all the way to the top of the shoulder increase. Don't push your arm down. Let go further of the top. Slowly rolling up over the top. Gently rolling up after softening the top of the neck, closing when you're done. couple windows in my little room here pointing toward the forest and the river. And in the summertime, the sun comes directly through this window in the morning, and through the wintertime it comes through that one. So you can see the morning sunlight here appearing. Always a lovely forest experience out here. Lots of bird noise, sound of the river. So let's do a little bit of shoulder circling in preparation for swaying front to back. Emphasizing the letting go of the top, this lengthening down. You still fall around the circle, so the letting go here includes a little bit of letting go in the front of the shoulder as well. But just for today, emphasizing the top. If you find that letting go of the tops of your shoulders is particularly difficult, especially on certain stressful days, because this is a common stress response, then take the time to use those tools that I've been encouraging you all to get. Those massage canes, the thumpers work really well here around the shoulders. Can't really use them on your neck so much, but they can be very handy to release those knots of tension that can appear in the tops of the shoulders due to stress. Both directions. And do let me remind you, as Dr. John comes out, as I would tell people in my clinic, that if your shoulders are constantly becoming tight and the way you are treating that tension is through release, through massage, for instance, or the thumper, then if the problem isn't mechanical, if it's not because of a habitual movement tendency, or, I've had to treat people that carry very heavy backpacks for a living or heavy equipment, and so their shoulders are constantly being traumatized into tension, that's a possibility. But for a lot of people these days, it's not so much that. It's not even necessarily bad posture, although that's very common. But it can be a very strong emotional inhibition, a kind of emotional damage that's occurring all the time, causing this shoulder tension to creep back in. And if that's the case, of course, please do continue your practices. Keep moving, keep the chi flowing, but I strongly encourage you to take up practices like meditation, which of course is a big part of our Qigong series. You want to cultivate the kind of mind that is not as reactive, that does not hold on so tightly. Because of course anger and frustration, which tend to be the emotions that gather up in the shoulders there, they are often the result of holding on tight, trying to force things to be a certain way. So we learn how to let go of that, just in the same way that we're learning to let go of our shoulders. It's the same process. But instead of emphasizing it here with the shoulders, we sit still and we pay attention to how the mind is functioning. And we learn to pay attention to something else instead. So if that is a common problem for you, please do consider not just postural correction and massage and movement, or physical therapy strengthening perhaps, but please do consider taking meditative methods seriously. You can also reach out to counselors and therapists and other professionals. If the problem is particularly bad, please do find a pro to talk to about some of your anger or frustration issues, and sometimes things can be worked out that way as well. Do whatever it takes to treat the root of the problem. Don't ignore it. Don't pretend that it will go away. For a lot of people, simply learning to let go is enough. To stand in good posture, to sit with better posture so you're not hunched up and your body isn't forced to clench to keep you alive. Sometimes that's enough. for a lot of people. But for others, different directions are required. So it's important to recognize those needs. To take the medicine that you need, both directions. Feels nice. This wave of motion traveling up from the feet all the way through. Your shoulders roll, and so there's that moment when the tops of the shoulders let go, falling around the circle. Smaller and smaller. Closing. For those people that I was mentioning who deal with a lot of mental agitation, and that's causing your emotions and your body to tighten up, then please do take extra time here, as much time as you need to settle as best as you can, with your awareness here in the middle. Even if you end up only being able to settle for a few seconds, even a few seconds cumulative, going away and coming back, that's the kind of training to settle that we're looking for. Letting go of agitation in your mind so your mind settles into the present moment. Try not to hold on to it, because that's more of the same problem, the tendency to try to control everything. Instead, your mind settles into the present moment, resting here in your body, anchored by physical sensation. And that will help to unravel some of those tangles of emotion that might be getting trapped up in your shoulders. Trapped up. Sorry. Wonderful. So let's do a bit of preparation for the black snake movement. Loosening up the neck, over the top. As you let go and return to center, that's the moment when the tops of the shoulders especially have the chance to release downward. Falling back to center. hands on the sides of the body. Then down and up. Letting go. Lengthening. Tops of the shoulders release. Keep them soft and released. Allowing the shoulder blade to slide down because you're not forcing it up. That gives all of this space for your arm to move and settle through without having to push your head forward or trying to lean back. Slowly increasing the number of these as you practice. Softening down the sides of the body so that the top of the shoulder can lay flat in the comfortable alignment. It can take some time before your shoulder finds this new realignment. You literally have to wear a new groove in this space, so there might be some popping, clicking as fluid moves around. Top of the shoulder stays relaxed as best you can. Falling. As best you can, allow the tops of your shoulders to release and sink as your hands float up. Crown of the head floats up. These kinds of movements are very good for helping to retrain the habit of lifting the shoulders for no reason. Don't overload yourself. Ending with the lengthening, and then lengthening that way. Eventually your arms just fall here, but it can take some retraining. If you've come this far in the series, you're already quite good at training. I always forget the little side-to-side motion. Releasing up, shoulder falls, this length all the way at the base of the ear releases over the top. It's the same alignment that I'm talking about as we soften down the sides. Falling into the correct alignment, allowing the shoulder blade to sink and that to lift your hand, to release and to decompress the neck and shoulder, allows for this new range of motion, which isn't a stretching style flexibility. We're letting go, and this is the path that the hand and the shoulder would take. It allows for all kinds of interesting movements in later practices, but it has to follow this pathway. And then letting the shoulder slide around and sink. Shoulder top lets go, even as your hand floats up. Letting go more as it sinks down, melting. And then shoulder blade goes all the way around and sinks. Closing. So you can see how anchoring the chi and settling the mind can be just as important for the tops of the shoulders as rotation practices. It's all necessary for healing. The body-mind is one experience, one flow. That's what this chi flow thing is. We learn to transform and heal that relationship. So let's try just a little bit of black snake, twisting around the tree, emphasizing this quality of the top of the shoulder, all the way up to the base of the ear, releasing. Letting go. Softening all the way through. This whole series is my attempt to create a kind of user manual for the shoulder. The neck and shoulders. Later on in the series, we'll include more movement practices that help with harmonization, connection, even all the way through to cultivation of intent, shaping of the mind, and how it relates to something as simple as neck and shoulder movement. But we start with just being able to let things go. Closing when you're done. Let's do a little prep for white snake. Shoulders letting go. Tops falling open, your neck lengthens because you're decompressing the shoulders. Chest opening, chest closing and sinking. Hands fall around the circle. It could be nice to let your arms swing until they come to a halt on their own. Letting go of your shoulders. I'm not doing anything right now with my shoulders. They're just moving. The softer you are, sometimes the longer they can swing. And just playing with them, letting them be this soft, can be very helpful. Many times in the clinic, I would lift somebody's arm, and their arm just stays there because there's so much tension, and they think they're relaxed. They can't even feel their own arm. They couldn't swing like this. And so if that's you, if you're so tight you're kind of like this and letting them swing doesn't feel possible, you want to start to develop, even just from the elbow down or maybe from the wrist down, this kind of looseness, softness, and flexibility. The swings we practice at the end are also really helpful for that. But a lot of this has to do with starting to unclench at the top, falling open until things move freely. And in that freedom comes the ability to move easily, even through something as light as a thought or an intention. Qi of the shoulder and the arm can flow freely without inhibition. Shoulder blade slides down the back. Top of the shoulder falls open. Don't do this. This is great for practicing letting go of the top of the shoulder. Falls open down the back, falls open down the front, and go. noticing what it feels like to be more open, to have things grow warm and soft. Take note so that that part of your nervous system, that part of your brain, the conscious part, can share in this change. So it says, oh, that's what we want. That's what we're paying attention to. Okay. We tend to only notice the tension creeping in or the discomfort. If you find that there's tight areas, don't pay so much attention to them. Instead, notice if there's an open, soft space nearby. Allow that soft, warm openness to spread. Paying attention to difficulties tends to lead to the body-mind tightening up. But if you notice the areas that feel good, bring that into conscious awareness, your system tends to let go more easily. No particularly complicated reasoning around that. Letting go, especially here, here. Lengthening. Open. Turn your waist. Shoulder sinks. Shoulder softens on the top. Shoulder releases down the back. Here is a common place for people to start lifting. Let it fall down and open, so there's no room for the tension to creep up because it's all releasing open. Let's do that one more time. Creating all the space you need through letting go. Here it comes. Shoulder sinks down, so there's tons of space to go through. You don't have to contort yourself into tense knots trying to fit the movement through because you've simply let go of everything that's in the way. We do the same with meditation and everything else. One way of thinking about it is that the softness and openness is what you are. The tension is just what you think you are. It's just in the way. When it falls away, you're left with this comfortable, open expansiveness, which is everything that you are. Movement easily flows through that. Feels good, huh? So this is another one of those where we're just letting things fall lengthwise through. We'll talk more about this direction in the outer corner of the shoulder. But of course, it's all the shoulders, so this is part of letting all of this go. It's like our arm wants to fall off and we stop hanging on to all of the tension gripping up top. And then around the circle. Hands lift, elbows lift, but the shoulders are soft in the sinking. Don't tighten them up. Letting go. Falling through. Let's soften up the hips a bit. Remember that in the relationship through the body, the shoulders and the hips play a large relationship to each other. And so tension in the hips will often find itself in the shoulders or vice versa, sometimes across the body in funny ways. And so by softening in through here, there's a direct relationship through releasing here. And so one of the funny puzzles of the body is that sometimes if you found that it's just really difficult for you to release tension around your shoulders, maybe spend time emphasizing the softening and opening of the hips, again, which we'll do even more in a later series, and you might find that loosening this up in a way that surprises you. It's all one thing. We only pick it apart in pieces as a way to talk about it. Only go as far down as feels comfortable, as it is for your hips to travel back, your spine to lengthen, the neck to soften. Even if it's only to your knees, it's perfectly okay. Again, especially offering warnings about high blood pressure, abdominal compression, any reason for you to take extra care going up and down, please take that care, since I can't be there with you. Shoulders slide down, leading with the hands, hips open, spine lengthens, neck softens, breath is easy. Lead with the hands on the way back up, but don't lift the tops of your shoulders. They stay soft and open. Let's do a little loosening of the neck. Looking up and down if you like with your eyes. And then, turtle drinking chi, softening back. Spine soft, hips released in the back, then letting go. Stay comfortable and easy. Always wait for things to equalize before continuing. I know I say it all the time, but there's those stubborn people that will push through warning signs, and I very much don't want anybody to get hurt. I've had several different students fall over and pass out just from relaxing too much during standing posture. That is not an exaggeration. Qigong can be very powerful, so please pay attention. Closing. Noticing as your body softens open, how much easier it is to settle the mind. Things become clearer. You might notice colors becoming brighter. In fact, one of the ways that you know that your neck has been releasing appropriately is that there's this sense of clarity that comes with it. So for those friends of mine who are experts in studying mental activity, the health of the mind, from the Qigong perspective, this setting free of the spine, loosening of the neck, allowing the top of the head to float up, is known in meditation circles to allow the mind to clear more easily, for the senses to sharpen. The sense gates are open. Easier to focus, to pay attention. If you ever watch a boxing match, for martial artists among you, two people fighting against each other, and they're going at it for a while, and they have this poise. And then as soon as you notice that one of them goes, the fight's over with. A good ref will actually notice that and start to keep track to make sure that somebody doesn't collapse. Because this quality of openness is part of our clarity. It's part of our ability to be here and present. And so if you find yourself playing an instrument, as I show in some of my other videos on Patreon, or if you are learning a language, make certain that you maintain this open quality through the neck and the shoulders, through the whole spine. The breath is open and easy, and it makes it easier for your mind to be clear and to function well. Palms turning down before the level of the chest, shoulders sink, neck opens, crown of the head floating up. Some of the first Qigong that I learned was scholar Qigong, designed to heighten and strengthen the mind. There's scholar methods, spiritual methods, designed to connect you with your deeper nature, the original nature, we would say in Taoism. Yuan Xing. Up the midline. Just to work on softening the tops of the shoulders. So we come around the shoulders, release, so the palms turn. Lengthening up. Softening through. There's general longevity, health, Qigong, martial Qigong, designed to increase your athletic capacity. Lots of different forms of Qigong. This is considered a health practice, a longevity practice, emphasizing health of the spine. And I've added movements here to increase healing of the neck and shoulders. But because we're all one being, it's all interrelated. This should make your mind more clear, your world more vibrant. Let's try this same movement, but coming up the sides. Lead with the ring finger, fourth finger, coming up, emphasizing the shoulders falling open, sides and back of the neck releasing. This is opening that gallbladder channel line that we talked about earlier. Softening through. Top of the shoulder is controlled by an acupoint called gallbladder 21. Jianjing, shoulder well. One more. Falling through, emphasizing this softening, opening the tops of the shoulders. So as I mentioned, this is one of my favorite practices for helping to release lengthwise, this centrifugal direction outward. Let the momentum lengthen your arms, softening tops of the shoulders. Neck is releasing up, because part of the top of the shoulder is part of the neck. Your jaw is also released. So let's try also swinging our arms a bit, tapping the tops of the shoulders. You won't be able to hear me because I'm practically tapping the microphone. But as the hand swings to the top of the shoulder, let your palm connect with that shoulder well point, gallbladder 21 on the top of the shoulder. And in the analogous point on the hip, the outside of the hip, gallbladder 30. Eventually this movement comes simply through the rotation of your waist, but in the very least try to not lift your shoulder as you strike your other shoulder, because that's defeating the purpose. Settling comfortably into a basic standing position. Falling open. If you're able to, allow your awareness to sink deeply into your body, all the way into the level of the bones. As usual, paying extra special attention to the neck and shoulders. And for today, that top of the shoulder region. I see a lot of people lifting their shoulders as they reach up to touch their eyes. But as we've discovered, you don't need to do that. So keep your shoulders soft as you rub your hands, as you warm your eyes. Looking at you. You know who you are. I will take off my mic for this next part, just so I don't smack it around. But we'll spend some extra time, of course, working on the shoulders with our hands. If you can't quite reach them comfortably, grab a tool or a friend to work on it for you, and spend time wherever you need to spend more energy to help heal and open. Thank you very much. So your homework. Thought you were going to get away easy. Your homework is to notice the weight of your elbows, this sinking of the elbows. Everything 松肩, shoulders soften, open. 抻脚, the shoulders and the elbows sink. Hands soften. So just whatever time it is for you when you're practicing this, for the rest of the day, notice this sinking of the elbows. And that will help to soften open the tops of the shoulders. And for those of you that spent the time to learn the gallbladder sinew channels as well, perhaps you can notice how that top of the shoulder also relates to the rest of the body and the rest of the movement in your system, that unification quality. Again, we'll work more on unification of the body later, but it's useful just to pay attention. Go, oh yeah, these are related, even though they don't seem quite as connected. My elbow sinking really is related to what's going on up here. Just pay attention, trying to draw this into your awareness. Pretty soon it will feel obvious, and you'll wonder how you walked around like this. Goodbye.